So I want to talk a bit about transplant shock, which is something that people don't quite understand because we're a field-grown nursery, and when we dig trees up from the ground, inevitably quite a few of the roots are being lost in that process. So what happens to the tree, and that is what we talk about transplant shock, is that the tree gets planted in a new position, and then they try and grow normally, because at first they don't, it's like they haven't realized that their roots have been cut. So they try and behave normally, and then they realize, oh, I don't have enough roots for my leaves. And these are crab apples, Malus everest, and they do it, I call them the drama queens, because they do it the transplant shock is quite bad with them. So they then drop most of their leaves and then try and focus on forming roots. But there's not enough time in the first summer to form enough roots to keep the tree growing. In the second year, that's when they start forming proper roots. But the canopy might still look a little bit empty. And people keep phoning us saying, it's 2 years and the tree still looks a bit bad. But the second year is when the magic happens underneath the ground. That's when the tree starts forming the roots. It starts growing out, finding its own water, its own food. And then by year 3, that's when they start behaving normally, because then they formed enough roots and then they start forming enough leaves. So people maybe struggle with the idea that they have to wait 3 years for a tree to start looking normal again. But when you buy bigger trees and you buy trees of a certain size, that is just part of the process. So as long as people understand that it is a 3-year process, and just try and visualize what's happening. You know, the tree, the roots, first year, the roots are being cut. The second year, that's when the magic happened underneath the ground. And I know people only look at the stuff above the ground. We all like to see a beautiful tree. But by year 3, that's when the tree goes, okay, now I've formed enough roots, and now it will start behaving normally. So the whole transplant shock process is, if you look on this side of the field, these trees have been transplanted this last winter. And as you can see, they're quite sparse. You know, they are going through the shock. And on this side of the field, they're in their second year now. And just look at the difference. So they're looking a lot more healthy. They're not quite as full as they should be, I know, but they are looking a lot better than the trees on that side, because this is the second year. They formed a few more roots and they start behaving a bit more normally. By next year, they'll be absolutely perfect. So that's transplant shock.